Could MOOCs really be a solution for students in developing countries who don't have access to education, or is it just a massive hype?
Well, we're at a very interesting moment with MOOCs because I think right now it's hard to argue that they're anything but massive hype. But the potential, the possibilities for MOOCs are really, really great, that they can bring something that would not otherwise be afforded or completed, which is a advanced education for students almost anywhere. So we're in the hype cycle, anyone could argue that, but the potential is just enormous.
The future might look rosy, but right now, especially in developing countries, what about challenges like infrastructure and getting connected?
Well, we need an awful lot of investment for connectivity. I think that's the critical factor. I think there's the potential that we'll find some ways to use the minimal connectivity that people already have. There may, for example, be ways to use a basic mobile phone service, not advanced, not high bandwidth, but basic mobile phone service for some interactivity around education. That doesn't exist yet, not in any form that I think is achieving very much. But there is a potential to start with what we've got, and we can't wait. Start with what we've got, build on what we've got. There won't be enough professors, there won't be enough seats in classrooms, but there is plenty of capacity even in places where people have to go to a larger village or go to the city to get online. This is not the time to say, let's wait and see, or let's wait until there's adequate capacity. Now's the time to start building the systems that make this possible.
Of course, using mobile phones can help, but in the end, a reliable infrastructure is a necessity. And this is never cheap. Where will funding and investments come from?
Well, there's a serious problem with investment, inadequate investment in building the basic technological capacity for MOOCs and other digital learning to flower. But one of the things we can see is that we're interested in building that capacity for more reasons than just this. So simple questions of economic development seem to require, and I think will require, much more substantial technology and connectivity. So we're building that anyway, or we mean to build that anyway. So the investment in economic development, the investment in technology that drives that, is much the same investment that lays a groundwork for doing things with education. So we're not there yet, and there's a great shortfall. But I think the potential and the impetus is forming now.
And how about content? Making sure lessons are culturally appropriate and delivered in the right language.
Yeah, there's certainly a serious question that MOOCs, the content of MOOCs is tailored for someone else in some other place. And there's an extent to which that's true. It's not a gap that's impossible to bridge. There are there's all kinds of basic materials in the global education system that can be used in one place or another as long as the teaching, the communicating about it is adapted, and sometimes the language is adapted. So we're talking here about something that's not so different from exporting textbooks. So we do need to adapt it and transform it even for local needs, and better still, to build content from local capacity. That's not impossible to imagine. It's as though you could say that the current offerings of MOOCs are buying time or holding the place for content that will be developed everywhere for the very specific needs of a locality. So we'll get there.
What do you think about the accusation that MOOCs can be a form of educational colonialism because so much of the content originates from the Northern Hemisphere?
I know that it feels, from the recipient's point of view, or could feel, like it's just that, educational colonialism. But I think that's a problem that we can solve rather quickly. In the meantime, isn't it better to have some education and some great educational content to get started with than to have none, than to say, oh well, the materials aren't ready, so we won't try. I think as long as everyone can understand that there are local sensitivities and local needs and specific local tailoring, that's the ideal. I think as long as we recognize that and work towards that, the important thing is to make things happen, to get started, to get more people into an educational system, even as it's still evolving.
Are education systems in developing countries ready for MOOCs, or are they likely to be disruptive?
MOOCs are inherently disruptive, and a lot of the opposition, a lot of the critique is coming from the traditional system, and that's true in developing countries and true in Europe and true in North America as well. The reasons for that, I think, and I have to here kind of level an accusation at the traditional system, it feels and is threatened by MOOCs, maybe not so much by the MOOCs that are on offer right now, but on the potential for MOOCs. So I think that MOOCs, especially as they will evolve, are an enormous disruption. I think I would argue that that disruption is needed because, in fact, we're not going to be able to build the capacity we need worldwide for us to educate the children and the young adults of for the future. So we can't get there with the traditional system. So to argue that we shouldn't do anything that doesn't do it the way the traditional system did is going to leave us with less or with nothing. We're not going to achieve what we need to achieve.
So you think that MOOCs could end up democratizing higher education?
I believe that MOOCs can democratize and will democratize higher education. And I think the test we should all take here is to cast our thinking forward 10 or 20 years. Think what that technology can be, and I believe will be, and think of the demands around the world for higher education, and allow those two ideas to come together, and you'd say, of course we should, and of course we will. So I'm very, very positive about this. I don't like the MOOCs that are on offer in 2013. I've sampled them a little bit. I'm not impressed, but I see the potential, and I see how it can help students everywhere achieve more, and I'm very, very optimistic about that, looking forward to it, in fact.
Mr. Mahaffie, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. Thank you.